So the purpose of this video is to destroy a recurring myth that keeps coming up in presidential economic politics year in and year out for the last 40 years. Should have been put to bed by George Bush Sr. When he said that and called it voodoo economics, the idea that that cutting taxes can somehow increase revenues is completely impossible, and it's really easy to determine. I don't know how any economists, any self-respecting economists, can allow this to be, but we're going to put that to rest right now, because George Bush's two sons seem to like to propagate this myth, and it seems as though Donald Trump's tax plan also piggybacks upon this idea. Just cannot happen, cannot increase government revenues, and it's easily disprovable with 8th grade algebra, which I will demonstrate for you now. Okay, so now this is the basic formula. Now, most of us know governments get their money from taxes. So here it is. Government revenues equals the tax rate times the GDP, or gross domestic product, which is just the sum of all money that people make throughout the year, and all businesses, et cetera, et cetera. So just all the money that gets transacted, changes hands in the country over the course of time, how much money they make, et cetera, et cetera. So for government revenues, so when you cut, so the idea is that you're going to cut the tax rate, make it lower, and somehow the government revenues are going to increase. So that means that the gross domestic product is going to have to increase by a lot. Now we'll plug in some real simple numbers to demonstrate that. Okay, so now we've assumed that we all have an average tax rate of 15%. Which means we're all hedge fund managers. That's great. And that the gross domestic product, just for simplicity of numbers' sake, is $1,000. We are a very poor country. But it is a lot simpler with the numbers. So if you get that, the government revenues will be $150. So what we're going to do now is assume that that the average tax rate is going to go down by 5%, and that and so the GDP is going to be roughly equivalent, but we're going to see how we're going to make the government revenues go up. It seems really hard even already, but hang on. You see that we've substituted the $1,000 for the entire country to GDP because we need to know how much the GDP is going to go up so that the government revenues can even just stay the same after that big tax cut that Bush wants to give all the rich people. So we're going to figure that out and show that to you. It's a real simple equation. So now we've gotten the Bush tax cuts, and they've done that. And now we're figuring out how much the GDP is going to go up. Well, as it turns out, so we moved the tax rate over there, divide by 0.10, and we get a GDP of 1,500. Now remember that the original GDP was 1,000. So when we cut the taxes for the rich people, all the money in the country is going to go up by 50%. Everybody's going to make 50% more than they did the year before. Yay! Yeah, no, that cannot happen. That can never happen. It is not possible. It is a ridiculous, implausible thing. So you cannot increase revenues by decreasing tax rates. It is not possible. And it is really, literally one of the silliest things you can ever hear somebody say. So when you hear presidential candidates saying things like that, you know that they are lying to you. that they are just saying something so that they can make a quick buck, and you can just completely disregard almost anything else that they have to say because it doesn't really help